We are your election authority for campaign 2020. The countdown is on, just over 2 weeks until we head to the polls on Election Day. And the pandemic is impacting this election year. Joining me now to talk about that is Matthew Schmidt. He's an associate professor of national security and political science at the University of New Haven. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes to be with us.
It's good to be here.
So we are seeing all across the country increasing COVID-19 numbers. How do you think that could affect in-person turnout on Election Day?
I think the only safe bet is to say that it will turn some people away, or at the very least, what you'll see are very long lines, and it will challenge people to stand in those lines, particularly the elderly, and to be able to cast their ballot. But it's really unclear what it's going to do for the overall vote totals, because absentee and mail-in balloting totals are so high relative to in-person balloting this year.
Yeah, unlike other years, that's for sure. But could COVID force places to actually close down polls? And if that happens, how do states handle that?
I don't think it can do that. One never says never in the pandemic. But what you'll see is that places will try to do as much social distancing as they possibly can. And what you'll see instead is, again, this slowdown of voting. But I don't think places will close. And if hypothetically, if they were to close, it's unclear what you could do. There would be court challenges over that. You would have to go to state legislatures to get rules changed in order to reopen them somewhere else or at a different time. And so it would be a mess. And I think that overall, people will just leave the polling places open, and the people who show up, and then we'll battle it out afterwards.
Let's talk about the campaign trail now. And this is not just in the presidential race, but this is locally. What impact is COVID having in general on people campaigning?
So in local races, our test cases were the primaries in the spring. And what you saw early in the pandemic is that the bread and butter of local races, which was going door to door, right, and talking to people, died out for a number of weeks because candidates were afraid to do that and people were afraid to come to the doors. But what you hear anecdotally now is that that's back. And in fact, that people are so energized by the general election now that candidates are able to have access to people easier than they did before. Beyond that, of course, I think what you see at the national level is a ton of money being spent on social media advertising and then mass media advertising. I think we crossed $1 billion between both campaigns in just the 13 swing states, which is it blows the record away.
Yes, it does. All right, Dr. Matthew Schmidt, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And you can